What's going on, everybody? I'm excited to bring on my guest, Tavares Gooden. What's going on, Tavares?
Man, I'm truly blessed. How you doing today, Chris, man? How's everything going?
Everything's going well, man. We were just talking a little bit before we actually started the recording. So I know we're going to get into a lot of things here. I got a chance to meet your son real quick. Just, I want to start there. Just kind of what's it like, just, going through fatherhood, and also want to know about your golf game a little bit. I see you guys golfing quite a bit, but just what's it kind of been like for you lately?
I think for me and any parent, having a child, you get to relive your past. It's almost like you get a second chance. So there's a lot of things that I may have wanted to do and didn't do those things. So I get an opportunity with him to relive those things, like little things like just playing catch with my dad. He didn't, he had to work a lot. Big B had to work a lot. Here, I get to go out and I get to actually play catch. These are things that he takes for granted. I'm like, dude, I wish my dad was right outside and could just throw the football with me. But it's just for me, like I said, I always tell everybody it's to be continued. So everything that I didn't, I wouldn't say didn't accomplish, but everything I feel like that I could have done more, I can actually pour that into him. I can pour that into his attitude. I can mold him into me to be continued, which I feel like, going to St. Thomas Aquinas, going to University of Miami, two private schools, uh, you can't do much. You can't do much better than that. But at the end of the day, man, am I pushing him to be better? Absolutely. I don't know. Maybe he's going to go to Harvard, Princeton, Yale, something like that, and kill it like that. But that's what I see as being a parenthood. I get a second chance, and I take him golfing, like you talked about. Those are things that I didn't grow up doing, but I always thought they were cool, like golfing, tennis, those things like that. But like I said, me having me having done everything that I needed to do in my career, and also at the University of Miami graduating, I prepared myself to be in this position at this stage in my life where, like I said, I saw as a kid. I think when you're a kid, you know exactly who you need to be as an adult. Because I saw the things I wanted as a child. I saw what I wanted. I wanted. My brother was obviously 6 years older than me, so I didn't really have anybody to play with. My brother, he was doing other things. Like he was he was going out, hanging out on dates, and I'm like, oh, cooties. I'm thinking like, why is he with those girls? So we were at two different points in our lives, so I didn't really get to grow up with him, but we're best friends now. Like we still talk now, but just on the stand of growing up, the things that I missed. So I remember my grandfather taking me fishing. I remember getting poison ivy. Those are the things that it sticks with you. So those are some of the things that I wanted to do as a parent. So me, I'm loving parenthood. I think it's a great opportunity, like I said, to relive your past and pour in all the good stuff into the child.
Uh, and so just being, and I told you just before we got started, but just for me personally, being able to kind of go back and do some of these interviews, and in the off season now, with season, and now that Mario Cristobal was hired, I've been kind of going back, because for me, kind of remembering him at and going through the roster a little bit. And you know when I saw your name, kind of talked about you a little bit, when I was talking to Brian Monroe there. It was just just an opportunity for me to kind of reach out to you. So this is good. It's kind of reliving some personal memories with you. I always enjoyed covering you and stuff. So let's go back, Tavares. 2003 to '07, you were at Miami. Mario was there for 3 years. Obviously not your position coach, but just what do you remember about Coach Cristobal, and any memories when he was at and then also maybe your reaction as he takes over as head coach of the Hurricanes now?
Hey, Coach Cristobal, that's a real G right there. Like you said, he wasn't my position coach, but he always showed love. Like, it's the craziest thing. I could be having my mental battles with my coach. I could be having, whatever it may be. Those struggles as being a teenager, because you're still a teenager in college as well. But this man would always come up to me, and I'm talking about, he looked for the energy. Like, he was like, "What's up, 5-2? What we gonna do today?" And it was just, like I said, man, he was one of them coaches where he wasn't my coach, but I loved him because he loved me. And that's why I think he became a great head coach. That's why I think he went to Oregon. and he succeeded is because he has that personality, man. He touched me as a linebacker, and he wasn't even coaching my position. Like I said, he just knows talent. He's not. Sometimes when you get into them games, it's all political. Mario Cristobal is not political. That's the thing. Like he don't care that your position coach or your D coordinator might not like you because you flex your arm and you're that guy. He doesn't care about that. All he knows is that 5'2" comes to hit stick, and he comes to play like a hurricane every single week, practice in, practice out. And that's what I love about Mario Cristobal. I think it's just him being unbiased. He has no biasness, and that's what I believe is going to help him excel there. But what my message to him is, don't change, man. Just be that person that you were at the U when we were there, because we were still great. We were still great there. Our defense broke records. Our offense probably wasn't on tune as much as they should have been, but that's okay. You know, it happens. It happens in the tradition. We wouldn't have been who we were if we didn't have the offense that we had. So at the end of the day, man, I embraced it all. But like I said, the run game was powerful. Coach Cristobal was on the offensive line. In the run game, let's get back to that. Let's get back to I formation. Let's get back to what Mario Cristobal loves to do. Like I said, you've been at Oregon for a minute, but when you come back here, bring this back. Bring that attitude back. Bring that Willis McGahee up the gut, Frank Gore up the gut, Tyrone Moss, big sexy, God bless his soul, up the gut. Let's get back to pounding that football. Because when we did that, we always had a set of 3 running backs, always. 3 deep, always. Edgerrin James, Jackson, and Portis. We can keep going with the Portis to McGahee to Gore. So whenever we keep them boys back there, them horses back there, that's when we succeed. So what I would say, man, I think he's going to do great. I think he has all the tools to win. Now, back then, you know, what the college players now, they're able to use their likenesses to earn a little bit. Dude, that's huge. That's huge for Cristobal, man. He's in Miami. When, like you said, the recruiting changes now. Because they said we couldn't take people to Monty's. Well, this was after my year. I got to go to Monty's and all them places, the Gator Bites. Coach, I remember Coach Hargraves eating my Gator Bites, asking me, do I want the Gator Bites? I remember all this, but they couldn't take him to Rusty Pelican no more. After Willie Williams' class, after they class, because they said it was an advantage. I'm like, why not? This is our home. If that's an advantage, hey, bring on the home cooking. Bring it on. So what I think this does now for Coach Cristobal, he's in a great position because now he doesn't have to worry about those crazy rules. He can use likenesses, bring kids down there, and also he's a part of a winning organization at Oregon. So I look for him to do big things. And the biggest thing I look for him to do is bring this back. Come on, Coach Cristobal. You was there at Oregon for a minute. I know you shook hands with the man, the rep. Come on and bring that back on them jerseys, because that's important to me as well. I feel like when that was stripped, that's like somebody taking the chain. That was the turnover chain right there. Like that was the turnover chain. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody on the defense had a chain. Forget that, man. This is the chain. This is what we played for. That's why I went to the U. So I believe Coach Cristobal has all of those factors going for himself. He's a enthusiastic coach. He's a winning coach. Nike guy. All these things I feel like Coach Cristobal has that he's going to bring back to the U, and especially the power game. Like I said, the power game. He was the offensive line coach. He knows the tradition of Miami. He knows what's at stake. He knows that, man, that window's only so big at the U. Look at the history. Look at the history since Butch. Man, I was Coker's there, and that was a blink of an eye. So at the end of the day, he has a chance to do something special because, like I said, man, I wish I had my ring on right now somewhere, but the last team to come out of there with the championship ring was our class. It was us, me, G-Oath, Beast, Bain, Moss. That was it. That was the only goal champion. Sean Taylor was there. Obviously, those were our leaders. But we was there click clacking. But we were shoot. I almost gave my ring to my dad. I'm glad I didn't because it was so easy. But at the end of the day, man, that's huge. That's what I think Coach Cristobal is going to bring back their bowl championship seasons. That stuff right there is exciting, man. Miami has that. I haven't felt that excitement. Like I said, the city hasn't felt that excitement since 02, 03.
And it's crazy, all these things that you're saying. And yeah, you're right. That 03 team was the last conference championship team back in the Big East. And you're right. That was your first year. And I'm sure you thought things were going to go much better. After that, especially as you guys got rolling, that young class, that 03 team, and Tavares, I remember a story. So for people that didn't remember, we used to be able to, reporters used to be able to be in the locker rooms after games and it was like an NFL style where we could do interviews and stuff. And I remember interviewing you at Florida State your freshman year. You were just so happy, that was a game in the rain. I remember you were excited just to be out there and you got that win. And I remember the grill. I remember a lot of that. Yeah, it was just kind of bringing you on and just kind of thinking about some memories. But that 03 team, the first rounders and stuff, do you have a good story that stands out to you, whether it's with Sean? And I always like hearing about Sean. I think people like sharing stories about him. If there's something with him in particular, and or maybe those other linebackers with Vilma and DJ, maybe just your kind of first season for you navigating through that.
Oh man, that was a crazy season. You're talking about lights off, cleats being thrown in the locker room, heads being shaved, eyebrow. I didn't get mine. Me and Powder, God bless Powder Soul. God bless Powder Soul, man. We were some tough, as The Rock would call it, Brahma Bulls. So nobody really didn't mess with us. I remember we had a couple run-ins with Sean T, and we had to prove ourselves, but the older guys knew, and that's why we played. We had to prove ourselves. We had to go out there every single day and prove ourselves. So I love that. I didn't think that was what they call hazing. I thought that was initiating because now you know who has your back and who doesn't. So I actually love those days. I got a story about Sean as well. I got a ton of stories, obviously. But a lot of people thought my temperament. I remember Coach Shannon was like, "There's not gonna be no more Sean Taylors." He would always tell me. He would always tell me that because Sean had an attitude, man, and it was a great attitude. I don't call a football player who plays like that. I don't say he has attitude. I say he has passion. See, I'm a different type of person, so I had that passion too. And it's just it's a passion to know that, man. You know that you could take over at any point. Like you have the athletic ability. And it's not that you're being cocky or bold or anything, but you played so many games. Like Sean knew, man, when he intercepted that ball, it's probably gonna be a touchdown. Like he caught that ball since he caught that ball so many times. Just like when I would tackle somebody, I knew it was gonna be a bone crushing hit and I was gonna get up from it and they probably wasn't. Like, but some people don't have that because maybe they didn't do it over and over and over and over and over again. But when you do something over and over and over again, you become, I would say you become used to doing those things. So long story short, I'm a freshman getting on the bus and it was different because when you're traveling with the team, it's different from, when you're not traveling with the team. Like when it's just the camp and when it's just, let me go back to my training process. When it's summer camp. Yeah, when you're in summer camp and you're on the buses, you got all these buses. But once you know who makes the team, there's two buses. There's a first day bus and a second day bus now. So you don't get to sit on the freshman bus with all your freshman buddies and all that stuff. So now I'm on the team. So now I have to sit on the regular defensive bus. So I'm like, dang, man, this thing feel like Forrest Gump, bro. Like when Forrest Gump got on the bus and everybody's seats tight and can't sit here. That's what it felt like. I walk up in the first seat. I want to say it was now who was in that first seat? I want to say Velma. It was somebody always in the first seat, but the first couple seats you had Velma, you had Vince, you had, DJ sat in the back, but he had his own chair. Like what I'm saying is everybody had their own seat. So I'm walking past Roscoe Parrish. Roscoe looking at me like, nah, like he can't. I see Big Vince. And Big Vince, my family, he married to one of my, I'm looking at Big Vince, and I got a story about him too. And Vince kind of looked the other way at me. I was looking at Vince like, dude, you wrong. You the person to take care of me right now. So I looked at Vince and I walked away from him too. And I kept walking, man. I saw Thomas Carroll, like all these guys who supposed to be my homies. These guys acting like they don't even see me as game day. So Sean T, I would say my first conversation with the guy I've ever had, he's a legend. Watching him at St. Thomas Aquinas, I wanted to be like him and Willis McGahee, dude. That's all I did. If you watch my tape from St. Thomas, I play like him and Willis. So I was that defensive end, obviously, and that's how I was hitting people because, like I said, I really looked up to this guy, and I showed my son Sean Taylor and Willis McGahee. Still to this day, he wears two. So we go back to this. So I'm like, I get on the bus, and I'm walking past, and I walked all the way to the back. And I finally come back up to the front. I'm looking at Coach Shannon like, man, I'm about to get off this bus, man. I did not sign up for this, dude. Like, I could play football, but I'm not about to wrestle nobody. Like, I was about to get off. The next thing I hear this voice, and he's like, good, come on over here. And I look, and it's Sean T. So I'm like, nah, not him. He's not going to offer me to see. But, the guy who I look up to, he's the guy who he's the last person on earth I thought that would let me sit with him. And so we sit and we just have a magical conversation, man. He just talks to me about his life and talks to me about, his time at the University of Miami, kind of asked me my time at St. Thomas. It was one of those moments where I felt like if I would have met Kobe Bryant or somebody like that. It's one of those moments where I feel like like it's surreal because it's somebody who I've always wanted to ask questions, and probably thought I would never got the opportunity, but yet here comes a God-given ability that sent me to the University of Miami. And then I sit next to this, this machine, this guy who I grew up, this hunting machine. This guy is basically a spear fisher, man, and he's the spear. So I'm sitting next to him, and I just was able to pick his brain. And I tell you what, man, that's when I knew energy was real. I could feel every bit of Sean Taylor's energy when I sat next to him. And that's why I played the way I played at the U, because I didn't want to let them down. It was all about tradition. It was about that hit stick, bust stick, and talk shit tradition. And that was it, man. You like win, lose, or draw, you were gonna feel it. I wanted to make sure that you were on the injured reserve list next week. If you beat us, I'm not trying to put you out for life, but you were going to be on the injury reserve list if you beat us. And that's because of those guys, man. Like you said, man, when I sat next to them, when I felt that energy, being there at that time, I knew what it was. And I'll tell you this, the rules changed. It's not the same. Even when I was there, they were slowly trying to change the rules because we dominated at being bullies. The NCAA say, shoot, what are we going to do? I tell you what, at first, Miami was soft. If you know the history about it, Miami was soft. Didn't have a lot of athletes that went there at first. And they used to get punished by Oklahoma, punished by Nebraska, punished by them boys, getting ran through, getting trucked, getting murdered, getting ran through. Next thing you know, man, Schnellenberger, all them coaches in the past, what they do, they start coming home. Okay, if people want to be physical, we got a lot of physical people. They say on the news every day that we got physical people in Miami, people who will do things to you that other people won't do. So guess what? Now we stay home and we bring them people in. And then guess what? Now Miami becomes more physical. And that's what the people don't like. They go, oh, shoot. At first we was holding Miami back. We was beating Miami off being physical. All right, we're going to take that in. Oh, shoot. It's something about this team. It's something about South Florida that the rest of the country just despises. And I have no clue. So like I said, not letting these guys down was why we played. So another thing, like I said, man, we were in the locker room. You had to prove yourself. You had to wrestle. You had to do all these things. So let's go back to what I was really talking about. That's the rule changes. So the rule changes have put Miami in a displacement because you went from being this super not so tough team to now the era where you're super tough. And then now the people, they change the rules on you again to say, no, we're going to take away from what Miami does. You guys have to find a different way to win now. You can't impose your will now. And that's why we've been struggling, because we haven't had a coach that realized that yet. Like, yeah, we have our culture there. And yeah, I want the culture there as well. But we have to understand, too, that it's not that type of game anymore. So that's where Coach Cristobal really comes in, because he's been with people that knows X's and O's. They've been winning. So now when you're playing against these ACC teams every week that's coming out there in these different forms, he has a system. So he's going to be ready for that. A lot of people aren't ready for that system because you know why? They're trying to bring back the old you, the old swagger. And that's illegal now. The old swagger is illegal. But the hits can still be hard. The playmaking can still be there, but the attitude has to change. How you get up from something, because you can get a flag just for that. So that's why I think Coach Cristobal has gone and came back, where he knows Miami's tradition. He knows what he has to get back to, but he also knows how to compete in the new in the new NCAA. He knows how to compete with the new rules, and that's what we needed. We needed somebody who knows how to go out there and compete in these new rules. So let's go back to, like I said, when we played, we knew what we had to do. We had to keep being physical, because if we didn't, we're going to be looked at upon our peers, the people who we wanted to gain respect from. And everybody, like you say, nobody knew at the time who all was going first round, but dude, we had 6 people go first round in 1 year. Those were the guys we looked up to, rightfully so. And then there were so many other guys who went pro too, like Mo Sykes and everybody else off that team, like Alfonso Marshall, like so many other people. Okay, who cares about first round? These guys could have easily been first rounders, easily. So he didn't want to let those guys down. So let's go back to training camp. And the reason why is because our camaraderie. So instead of me, I saw a couple stories, and I don't like to. Everybody's situation is different. People get picked on in the locker room. They handle things different. I remember a guy from the Dolphins got picked on, and he told his coach. That's one way to handle it, but I feel like that doesn't build anything. It doesn't show that you're tough. Like, you go out and I'm not even gonna get into that. But let's go back to my situation. So you kind of see where I'm going. So Vince comes up to me, and we're in the training room. And like I said, he used to always do these things to me that were just like big cousin type stuff. And like I said, I found out, that one of our cousins had married, my family told me that. So I said, man, is this why he keeps messing with me, man? Like this dude. And he reminds me of my big brother, big Byron, big stump. So my brother's like that too, like 300-something pounds. So I'm like, dang, man, like I always got a big brother like this. Like, it's crazy. So he come up to me when, Scott McGonigal, and the other Scott was there, Scott Bruce. I remember that they were there. And he goes, tell me, do this hurt? And I was like, tell me, do this hurt? I'm just looking at him. This guy punches me like right in my stomach. I was looking at him. Right? I look at him like, seriously, bro? That's what you just did to me? So I said, all right, and we're freshmen. So he probably thinking like, I'm finna pick on him. Like, this is what it is. All right, Vince. I got you. So he got away with it in the training room. And I, obviously remember the training room, I didn't really want to get cornered in there because obviously I'm more agile than him. So if I had to get him with some couple moves, instead of wrapping up, it would be more of my benefit. So I'm like, let me get him where I can run around and move. So we got in the locker room, and we had the U back then, and we had the chairs around the U. And when you walked in through the training room, everybody was facing the TV this way, and the U chairs was like that, facing the TV. So I walked up behind. I grabbed this big old pillow thing, the big things that used to be in the training room that you put your legs on, the little things that go like that with the triangle shape pillows. Man, I ran full speed, slapped into the back of the head. And I said, tell me, do this hurt? Wow! And I hit him. And then he chased me around that locker room. We were running. I ran through the doors. I ran out through the field. Bro, but at that point, I gained his respect. Dude, I gained everybody on the team respect at that point. They was like, dude, we got some bad, freshmen, man. Because we didn't take nothing. Like, I just think it was that, I think that I was super big and Powder was super big. So we were kind of like, bro, let's stick together. We don't got everybody. And they lucky we didn't have everybody. We didn't have Eric Monkar. We didn't have Ali Highsmith. We didn't have everybody come in that class because of grades and who knows what else. But when we were there, those were some of the stories. Like I said, man, where you handled it yourself. Like you didn't go up and tell Coach Vince is picking on me. Like, no, I'm gonna fight back. Like, what's the worst that he can do? You know, put sit on me, you know, and I'm stuck down there for a couple. That's the worst he can do. You know what I'm saying? So, take me up. That's the worst they can do. So, but what you look at it from there, we became real tight. That team was real tight knitched. I remember us acting up in the hotels. Like we would be out there. We called it Zoom Bay, and that's how we got ready. Like if we didn't flip a couple beds in the lakes, Kellen Winslow's crazy behind, and DJ and all these guys, if they didn't flip a couple beds at the lakes, then we weren't gonna win the game next week. I remember, man, we had this one thing again with Sean T. So it was the linebackers and the DBs, and we would always go at it. And man, like I said, I had the same mentality as 26. I'm wrestling everybody. I'm wrestling Merriweather. I'm going in there. But I didn't know that the DBs was like, if this was Lion King, they was like Scar. So they had all the hyenas and they didn't play fair. I didn't know this though. So I'm over there wrestling and slamming, dude, boom. I'm locked up with Merriweather. Hey, I'm moving furniture in there. Next thing you know, I hear the door, lock. And I'm like, damn, I'm thinking this is my LBs running in there too. Man, Jarrell Weaver, all them boys ran back to their room. I don't know what happened. They left. I'm in there. Now it's 19 and 26 on my behind, bro. So next thing you know, my feet stripped up, my clothes off, everything's off. Bro, in 2 seconds, I said, what y'all doing, bro? Y'all trying to rape me? That's what I'm saying, bro. So I'm like, what's going on? Next thing you know, I got nothing on, bro. I'm wrestling. Coach, we hear LC coming up. Oh, that guy. We hear him coming up the stairs. Because he hear all this rumbling. So I get thrown out of their room. I'm outside with nothing on. And Coker's coming up the stairs. And I'm looking at Coach Coker. He looked at me. I'm just like, he's like, get in your room, son. Get in your room. So I get in my room, and obviously he knows I'm a freshman. So it's just like, he know I ain't having to do with it, but he knows that I was a part of it. So the next day we get in the meeting, and Coach Coker comes up there. He is livid, bro. I forgot who we were about to play, man. It was a big game. We won that game too, but he was livid. I think it was West Virginia. It might have been West Virginia when K2 caught that pass. I think it was West Virginia. So he's livid. He comes in there, and he goes, guys, I'm sick and tired of this, guys. He's like, you got guys out here playing around. Are we ready for the game? I don't think so. We got T Good out here slinging. He said that dude the whole Kareem Brown. Everybody lost it. And then LC kind of was like, he went on to his next phase. But dude, I'll never forget that. Like those were the memories, bro, that you like, dang, now I got to ball out, man. Coach Coker just saw me out. But those were the stories, man. And so many of those stories were what I feel like what made us close. You know what I'm saying? Because if anybody else would have did that to me, you know, I would have been mad at them for life. But that made me closer to the DBs. I looked at my linebackers. I hated them for a few days. I was like, Weaver, you shouldn't have ran. You know, like I was on him for a couple of days. And my other guy, Daryl McClover, he was there. But D-Mac wasn't a fighter like that. D-Mac was going to let you get whooped. D-Mac told you from the beginning, hey, Rook, you mess with them. That's what he was kind of like letting me know, like, hey, man, don't mess with DJ and Vilma and them. Like, they got, if they have the opportunity to split, they're going to split. That's how McClover kind of had it. But obviously, that's against our own guys. If we were out and somebody was attacking one of us, obviously a hurricane, we don't never split. So, but when we're going against ourselves, doing a little DB linebacker thing, the DBs obviously had more corners and safeties than we had as linebackers, so we was always outnumbered. But great times and great stories, man.
Yeah, no, those are great stories. And I know you got more. Tavares, what's standing out, not just the camaraderie, it is pretty crazy how many good defensive players you played with at UM. And I know, look, Sean and those first rounders, those older guys, but You mentioned some other guys that got drafted. Then later on with Kenny and Calais, or Beeson. I mean, there's just or Merriweather. I mean, there's just so many guys defensively, and I was kind of thinking about it just at the linebacker spot. And I want to get into the draft stuff, get your thoughts on draft, but just a kind of reminder for people. So your third round pick there in 08, led the team in tackles the year before. So I was doing the research. You were the fifth linebacker taken there, there in the third round of that draft, 71st overall. And I found it to be interesting. So you're the highest drafted linebacker out of Miami, other than Denzel Perryman since. There's only been one other guy drafted higher than you. And what's crazy is you played with four linebackers that were drafted that were higher draft picks, with DJ and Velma Beeson. It's just, and Rocky there. It's just crazy. And I always talk about the linebackers need to get back to what it was, obviously, for Miami's defense to be good. But let's talk about the draft. This is another thing, just kind of on a personal level. I was there at your draft party that day to cover it. But you don't get drafted that first day. Back then it was the first two rounds. And I remember being there for that. And I don't think I was there that next day, but can you talk about what that was like for you to either that first day, then you do get drafted by the Ravens. And then also, did you think that was a team you're going to go to? What kind of draft stuff do you remember leading up to it? And then that experience, and then ultimately just kind of living the dream of being drafted as a player. That's obviously something you're working towards your whole career leading up to it.
So yeah, as you know, you got people that say you should be happy that you made it, but as this, you there. It's not that I'm happy that I made it. It's where I'm supposed to go. So of course I was devastated. I didn't go first day. I felt like I was the first best linebacker in that class. Obviously, feel like I could run. I feel like I can cover. Feel like I can do a lot of things, but I was injured. So we have to be honest with ourselves, and that's one thing that I teach my son. You have to be honest with yourself. I had a torn labrum and a sports hernia, and I still got drafted. I'm extremely blessed. You see what I'm saying? So I have to look at that standpoint like, yeah, this was a no hurt T good that ran 4.2, 4.3 at the U. Yeah, he's gonna be the top pick. But I wasn't that. I ran probably handheld. I probably ran in the high 4.4s, low 4.5s, electronically 4.6s. So now you're talking about a guy who slowed down 2.3 of a second. I mean, I'm still moving that as an LB, but not for who I was in the stats that I played with. So being younger, I was extremely devastated and hurt by not going first round. But as an older person, I'm blessed to have even been drafted. You know what I'm saying? So I got the opportunity to get drafted. I got the opportunity to get the injuries that I had fixed and then play 6 seasons after that. So at the end of the day, like I said, man, I look at that like as a blessing. Now let's go back to all the other guys. Like you said, I thought for sure, I'm like, man, like, I just see my brothers getting picked up and drafted first round. But that was the biggest thing. And like, once I figured that out, now instead of making excuses, now it's, man, it show up in the NFL. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, it's not about what lane you're in. When you in track, I'm a big track guy as well. I didn't care what lane I was in because you got to finish the race. Everybody has to run the same race. It doesn't matter what lane you in, but where are you going to finish at the end? So I knew this as a track person. Put me in lane 7. That's fine. I'm going to run this lane 7 the best way a person's ever ran a lane 7. And that's how you got to look at life, sports in general. And so that's what I did. And I ended up going and being drafted to the Ravens. That was crazy because the next day they tell me we don't have, the Bears were on the clock. So I'm looking at the clock, the Bears are on the clock, and I get a phone call and they say, what number do you want, 51 or 53? And I go, dude, whoever has 52 man, I'm about to snatch it off their back. Like, I don't care who it is. Like, I'm looking at the Bears. I don't care if it's Briggs. I don't like, bro, I'm from the U. Let's see what you got. Like, this is what it's about to be. And of course, the clock changes and the Bears go down here and the Ravens come up here, and I go, oh, okay. Now I know who I'm talking to. Now I'm talking to the Ravens organization. So I go, look, even if I beat Ray up, let's say I beat him up. Let's say I do win. Because we're 2-5-2s going at it. That'd be like 2 Terminators going at it. Who knows what's going to happen at the end? It's 2 Terminators. Even if I do win, I'm going to get jumped outside the stadium because I messed up the greatest of all time. But, you know, that man has his own cult in Baltimore, bro. You can't touch Ray. So I looked at it and I go, all right, give me whatever number's available. And I just said it just like that. And that was an actual honor, man. It was an honor because when I got up there, honestly, before I went to University of Miami, I watched a few things, but I didn't know that the whole past of Miami. Then end up going there and getting 52, and then finding out Ray Lewis were 52, and finding out what he did, and he was still being a factor in the league when I was in college. So I started to mold my game a little bit after him, but I didn't know exactly. You know, I knew more Javon Curse because I wore 90 in high school. I was a defensive end. Like that was my game. I was 90. His rookie season was my freshman season. It was my freshman year. And we both got 90, ironically. He didn't want 90, he had 42. I didn't want 90, I wanted 23. And both of us got 90, and both of us were called a freak. Like, I even showed my son. Ray Lewis called me the freak at one point in time, man. Like, we were playing against Adrian Peterson. I ran him down. It was crazy with the messed up hip. That's what we're talking about. So to be able to get Ray's number and to perform there, I started to learn more about him and to play more like him and less like Javon Curse, because I had to figure out, you know, you got to be into character. You got to be into character in whatever role that the team gives you. So obviously that was my role. So I had to know my role. I watched Ray. I watched how he played. I studied him. Dude, I remember going to the Titans. Fisher told me when we turn on the tape, I see glimpses of Ray Lewis. They said the same thing everywhere I went on my visit. We see glimpses. And that's because I was hurt. I was playing with a hip and a torn instead of a sports hernia. And that's okay. And I did my thing. Also with the left shoulder torn. Did that thing too. So I had some injuries. So I understood why they saw glimpses. So that was a proud moment. Then, like I said, to be able to be drafted on the same team as this man, that's when I knew, like, okay, everything didn't work out the way you wanted. You didn't go first round. You didn't go first day. You're still that type of player. You're still that caliber player. You just had injuries. Now you have to prove to the people that you were worth it. And so, man, every time we played somebody, I played with that edge. I played with it. If I saw first rounders out there on special teams or on when I was on defense with the Ravens, they were on offense, I was about to give it to you. I remember we played, Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. I remember that year was my third season. My shoulder was hanging out. And I had a big game, man. And it was all because of that edge, like you said, man, that University of Miami edge, that knowing that, all right, man, this didn't happen this way, but I still have an opportunity to write the story, because the story isn't written yet. You know what I'm saying? It's just the lane placement. But here we are on with Ray Lewis, which was a heck of a guy. But I didn't learn from Ray as much as people thought, because we didn't play the same position. The Ravens, that wouldn't have been a good call for them to put both of us in the same position. So they didn't. I played the other position. I learned life skills from Ray. I also learned, how to read a lot of the defenses from Ray, like learning the defenses of Ray. But how to play the game, I watched Bart Scott. Because Bart, and I couldn't even do what Bart can do. I did what Ray was doing. I used to jump, man. I used to move out the way, make the tackle, and the team's like, hey, both of you can't be doing that. Like, somebody got to hit the fullback, and it ain't gonna be Ray. And that's what and I looked at him like, it ain't gonna be T either, because T don't do. You drafted me. We're the same player. I'm not trying to be him. That's the way we both were taught, and that's really what it boiled down to. So I watched Bart Scott. I had to. I watched Bart Scott a lot because I had to be less like Ray, as crazy as it sounds, and more like Bart. So I'm glad I went to Baltimore to understand that. Though, if I didn't go to Baltimore, I wouldn't have understood that there's two different type of linebackers, or there's roles that you need to play, or I would have been a selfish player. And so by going to Baltimore, I was very unselfish. I played roles. I started next to Ray. I played all special teams because obviously it saved the team money, and I could do it. So, but I embraced that stuff. I used to feel like I felt like a younger Ed Reed. You know how they used to put Ed on all the special teams. I say, man, they must really like me to trust me, man. I played everything for them. I barely came off the field. And when I was there, I looked at it, I was mad. Like I said, now that you're older, you look back at it, you like, dang, bro, like, people don't do that in the NFL. Like, people don't just stay on the field all the time. Like, when you go 3 plays and out, stay on the field and rush the punter now and try to block the kick. Because somebody might jump off sides and not mentally tough, or maybe they don't have the attributes to do that. And like I said, man, looking back at it now, everything that happened to me, I look at it as a blessing versus when it was happening to me, looking at it like, man, why is this not happening? Why aren't these things happening? But at the end of the day, man, that's everybody from University of Miami's thought process. You think and you believe that you're going to be the top person, and that's okay. Because what happens is, even if that doesn't happen, you still believe you're the top person. You still think that I'm still a Miami Hurricane. I still can come out here and show these people. Look at Frank Gore. Shoot, same exact thing. Jeezy was in the same position I was. I believe he was probably a little bit lower pick than I was. I don't know his exact draft placement, but I know he was in the 3rd, I believe. And look at him, same chip. But he played his deal smart. My thing is, if I can go back, I wouldn't have made the decision to go to San Francisco. I would have stayed in Baltimore. And that's just me looking back, hindsight 2020 now. But if I stay there, I continue to play everything. When I go to San Francisco, me and Vic Fangio, I'm not a big fan of his. I didn't know he's the D coordinator there. He's the D coordinator there. At the end of the day, hey, I handed in my playbook to him, told him, hey, man, I'll play special teams. I'm not going to play on your defense. And that's just what it was. We didn't get along. But, hey, man, that's a personal vendetta. Obviously, he was with the Ravens and something happened there. But it was personal. It was a personal vendetta. So I chose not to play on his defense. But I had no clue when I made the change to go to San Francisco that he was the D coordinator. I had my agent didn't tell me. Nobody tells me. I go, what? He's over here? I was like, dude, I should have stayed in Baltimore. And so looking back at that, that's what I would say the difference between Frank and I's career. Frank stayed with the team. Man, anywhere you get drafted, that's the team that loves you the most, regardless on which round, because they pulled the trigger. So when you stay there, you're going to have the best opportunity over the long run to continue to play. And that's why I'd say where my career would excel probably after the Super Bowl year. Look at me. I'm still lifting all these big weights. I'm still and phenomenal. Who knows? Ray, what did Ray play to? He's 40-something. I got 2 or 3 more years left easily if we're talking about that. And the rules are softer. So probably can play for another 4 more. But at the end of the day, man, those are some of the things that if I were to give anybody advice, if they're looking at anything, I would say, hey, man, stay with the team that you're drafted to, because obviously that team, they vested in you, when other teams did.
You touched on, learning life skills with Ray, and obviously Ray's just an icon, and it's well documented, some of the things. Is there something, a story with him that stands out? And then also Tavares, Ed Reed, you touched on him, Willis McGahee, playing with those guys. That had to have been a lot of fun. And you guys are winning, playoffs all 3 years. You were there, and obviously they go on, and we'll get into that. But just, thoughts on Ray or a story on Ed that kind of stands out to you, and what it was like kind of playing with those guys, that group of you guys, because all of you guys had that mentality.
Oh, we were fired up. It was on another road. Like I said, they looked at it like, man, we got a cane. That's how they looked at it. And we would do our huddle. Ray, Ed, Willis McGahee was there, and me. We would do our huddle, and Ray would give a speech. And obviously, that's what he does. So everybody was pumped up anyway. And half the time I wasn't even really, I mean, I was listening, but I knew like I was waiting on that ding, ding, ding. And the ding, ding, ding was when he said, we came here to do Ray doesn't curse, so he say 3 mother effing things. And what's that? Man, and we would say it. Hit stick, bust stick, talk shit. And we saying it before the game, us four. It's just us, the whole team. But you could tell the other part of the team want to be around us because when we did it, it was known that we was about to do it. And everybody was looking in. Suggs used to stand on the outside of the huddle. Like he just wanted the energy. He's like, T, can I just stand behind you when you guys are doing the huddle? I say, bro, you crazy, man. I say, yeah, man. So he used to stand, like we used to all be like this, and he'd be standing behind me with his back facing that way, just listening. But everybody wanted to be a part of that, man. And that's because the U has something, and everybody knows that, man. And it's a brotherhood. It's a tradition. Man, the U has swagger. They have energy. Everybody want that energy, man. It's a different energy. So we would do that before the games, and Ed, you know, my big thing with Ed is just watching the way he played the game. It was just video game like the way he studied the game, the way he played it, the way he took chances. I just became a real fan of his because obviously, you know, going to University of Miami, but then just being next to him on a day-to-day setting, not just looking at Ed Reed on TV. I'm talking about being next to him, understanding who Ed Reed really is. When the coach tells everybody to back up, Harbaugh wants everybody back five, 15 yards, 5 lines. You have to be back when the plays are run. Ed Reed's, but obviously when you're standing like this across the line, the ball's over here, you got to kind of bow so you can see. So everybody's like start to go like this down the line so they can see, because the lines like this, you can't see behind the other person. So people stand in front. So Ed's almost at 10 and the line's going like this. And so everybody's here and the line's kind of going like this and Ed's up here. Coach Harbaugh look down the line. Everybody get back. I only see one Hall of Famer down there, just like that. And Ed, he at the end, and Ed looked to the right like he wasn't talking to him. And I'm looking at I'm looking at Ed like, come on, Ed, you know who we talking to. But Ed say, I don't see no Hall of Famer down here. And he backed up with everybody else. And that's, bro, that's what people respect, bro. That's what we respect. Everybody else respected the Reed. I used to say Reed just because he was the people's champ. He used to stick in for the players, man. Like Reed, he definitely should be in anything when it comes into player development, recruiting, anything with players. Ed need to be in it because Ed, he has a personality. He used to always tell me, T Good, man, I wish I was super older than you so I could have been your agent. And that's how that, like, the things he used to say to me, I'm like, damn, that's coming from Ed Reed. Like, Ed Reed feel this way about me? So, man, I got to keep making plays, man. Like I said, man, these guys don't know that we grew up really watching them. As much talent as I had, I still respected the game. I still knew the game. I still had respect for what the game had to offer and what them boys had done during the game. Like, there'll never be another Ed Reed, never be another Sean Taylor. The rules changed. You can't even do that stuff anymore. But, man, the way they played. And so what I did was, when you watch and you're tight-knit, you're one of those type of guys, and like I said, I was blessed enough to play with them. So I was able to play with somebody who I absolutely love to watch on television, who's coming back now, giving me kudos. Just so, like I said, that was an unreal feeling to hear, you know, to have Ray Lewis call me a freak of nature. You know, on national TV, it's on the thing. You know, I played Minnesota Vikings, to have Ed Reed, you know, talk to me and be who I need him to be. And Willis McGahee as well. Willis was there too. Willis showed me a little attitude too, because Willis was on the offense. The way that, and Willis had almost like a Debo mentality. Like, and I ain't talking about no Debo Samuels, that guy over there who played for the team that I used to play for. I'm talking about he had a Debo like who passed away. God bless Debo's soul, you know. Like my man Zeus Debo. And Willis just had that look, man. He would come out there and he had the confidence of a hurricane. And he just come out there and score, and he do his thing, and I'm just like, that's us. I can't let that down. I can't let that down. I'm in the NFL, and that's why, and that's honestly how I feel like why I played as many years as I did, because I did go to the Ravens, because I did have 4 canes to show me how it's done.
That Super Bowl, Tavares, it's just wild how careers over, or just the way it works out, right? You go to the 49ers, and then you play the playoffs again. Both seasons you were there, you get to the Super Bowl. That second season in San Francisco, you guys play Baltimore. What was that like going into it? I'm sure you're mixed emotions. Obviously, you're trying to win, especially against that team. What do you remember about that experience? And also just playing in the Super Bowl, getting there, it's every football player's dream. And obviously you would have liked to complete it, but just being in that environment, it's something you'd always thought about there in Super Bowl 47 in New Orleans. What do you remember about that? And then again, facing the Ravens.
Well, that was a good game, man. And I look at a lot of different things. I wonder why, we kick left all the time. We kick left all in practice. And then we know that if we kick it middle, D. Akers has a chance to make it go to the right as well. So he doesn't kick it just straight down the middle. It has a little hanging to the right. And everybody knew that. So, we were kind of messing around and flipping guys around and doing different things. And we put ourselves in a position, because usually I'm on the hash mark, I'm the 5. I looked at the tape. My coach moved me to the 4, but wanted me to play the 5's position when David Akers kicks a middle kick to the right. So I'm screaming, and I'm not in position to get to where I can front it up. Every time you put me in front of the ball, it's going to be hell. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm the big Vince of special teams. I'm the middle. You put me in the middle, I'm going to hang on to whoever. I'm going to one-arm jack his ass up, throw him out the way and make the play. But when I got to come from the side, it's a different angle. I'm coming from the side. So we look at that. And that was their – I feel like if we would have stopped them on that return, if we would have just been in position, that was the game. So that's how I look at it. I look at those things like that. I go back to that. And also – we didn't have, obviously, Blake Costanzo. We didn't have Colin Jones, those guys. Colin Jones was a speed guy. Blake Costanzo was a linebacker guy like me who can play off the speed guys. So I had to be the speed guy. We had basically 2 best tacklers on the team. We kicked it in a vulnerable position where I was on the backside 4 versus being on the front side 5. So if he kicks a middle kick to the right, you should have put me at the R5, not the L4. So I don't know if I'm always like, dang, did we get at the Ray? Like, was that a gift to you know what I mean? But I always laugh about that. But it's definitely a joke. But at the end of the day, man, those are some of the things that happened. Getting there was amazing, because that's what anybody dreams of. And I had been to 2 AFC championships in Baltimore where I had lost to the Steelers twice. So it was like, dude, I was this close away. I mean, I could have easily won 2 Super Bowls in Baltimore already. And we lost the one time the Steelers when the guy caught the pass, that crazy pass that Roethlisberger threw to Ward, and he caught it over Webby and cover 4. It was the craziest catch. And that's how they beat us. And at that point, I'm like, all right, well, shoot, what do you do? But those still count as wins to me, because, whether you win or lose that day, you were on the field, and your effort is what determines what. Because there's some people who play the Super Bowl who's absolutely pissed off because they played like crap, and they might have won, but they're getting dish-ragged the whole game, and they got to live with that. You won a Super Bowl, but you got dish-ragged. You see what I'm saying? So, it's a catch-22. So I went there. I had a big game. I did get a big hit on Digital 12. I tried to take his thigh board out, but because I know he's a big guy. You have to bring that pop with you. You got to bring everything you have with you. So for me, I felt like I was going to have a big game, and I felt like we were going to beat them by a lot of points, but we didn't execute the way we needed to. I feel like we didn't throw on them. You know, obviously they had a couple injuries. I feel like we didn't go at them the way we did to Michael James. Obviously, we know that he had a turnover on that fumble on that swing play. So there was a couple things that just went wrong. The run back that fumble on the swing, and just us not attacking the injured players. You know, Haloti Nada was injured. Ray Lewis was injured that game. T. Sizzle was injured. They had a ton of injured people, and we just couldn't get it going. But I tell you what, Anquan Bolden, he was a monster that game. Like I was watching on the sideline. I was like, man, like dang, right? Like it was a couple times. It was third and maybe even fourth downs. I believe one of the times, and he just jumped up and just snatched it out of our guys' hand. Like, and at that point, I knew. I say, man, if we don't play like this is a bar fight, they finna beat us, because the Ravens, they don't win on just we about to traditionally beat you. No, they finna freaking make you turn over, knock your teeth out, pick up the ball, run back a touchdown, maybe get a special teams block. They're gonna do something. They're gonna do something to get the edge. They're gonna make up a scheme play. They're gonna do something. So I knew playing against that game that it wasn't gonna be like a West Coast game. And we had lost to them too in Thanksgiving. So I was already pissed. Like it wasn't like we were the underdog, in my opinion. We had already lost. We had lost to them the year before, I want to say on Thanksgiving. So that was the first hardball, first hard bowl. You know, it was that Thanksgiving, and then we played again the Super Bowl the next year. So of course I wanted it. I wanted that W, but like I said, man, I had a big game. I had tackles. I executed my job. I'm on tape handling people. I got. It was like practice, honestly. I did what I needed to do, and I also feel like I could have helped the Niners a little bit more on defense. You know, like obviously getting to the passer. You know, giving the guys a break, a blow, and like I said, just me and Vic Fangio not seeing eye to eye. It put attention. So now I look back too, like, damn, what if I could have maybe squash that beef with him? I probably because obviously I did well against the Ravens every year to make their defensive team. I had to be doing something against their offense. I'm not going to start unless I was doing moves on the offensive player. So imagine if you put the person who was on the starting defense for the Ravens, who used to start every year on the defense because he used to do things to the offense that other people who he brought in didn't do. You got to think about this now. What if you put me in now and I'm going to, it would be like practice. And it was easy. That's why I started in Baltimore that whole time. So yeah, sometimes I look at my ways and go, man, I wish I could have, you know, been a little bit more less prideful. That's what I would say, because God comes to the humble. You know, he doesn't come to the prideful. He comes to the humble and humility. And at that time in my life, we weren't, that's all we had was your pride. Now I'll tell a kid, laugh at it, man. You know, what we had was my pride. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Those were the things that made you great. Now what makes you great is your paycheck. Can you continue to make your paycheck? So you don't need to, what you need now, you need to have a great attitude, great character, and be coachable. Back when I was playing, you didn't need those three things. Shit, the less character, the better. They wanted you to have the attitude, and you didn't have to be coachable, because you could just run through somebody and hurt them, man. Like you could physically make somebody quit. So that was the coachable part. So now, man, you have to have those three things now. And so great character, be coachable, and like I said, have a great attitude. You do those things right now, then you know you'll play for 17 billion years until you can't do that. But I didn't know that. I played off pure pride, off pure ego, off pure, you better shut the hell up before I slap you out. And at the end of the day, that was okay. That's how we won games. That's how we did certain things. But hindsight 2020, when I'm talking to the kids now, man, if a coach tell you to do something, do it, because it's not about pride anymore. It's well above. No one cares how much pride you have. Nobody cares how tough you are, your attitude. But what matters is, can you continue to make them checks every season? And that's the white envelopes. We always say, man, as long as you keep getting the white envelopes, keep smiling. So now I'll tell the kids, You know, back then when the coach said something personal to me, I wasn't doing the job, and I took it personal. Like I'll F you up, coach. You know, like I'll get in your face. But I'm telling the kids now, man, laugh at that, man, because it is, dude. It is not the same. Like the respect was different. You had to be a tough son of a gun. You don't have to be tough anymore in the NFL. You don't gotta be tough at all. So don't be tough. Just be smart. Be a smart guy. Use the system. You know what I'm saying? If a coach telling you to do something, man, don't talk back. You don't even have to talk back anymore, man. Like I said, we talked back. We did all that because that was the attitude you needed in the old NFL. The new NFL, the new college system, I'll tell kids this: just listen to what you're told to do, laugh, and enjoy and have the most fun you can, because you'll never get them years back. And if you spend the time pouting, looking at why things ain't, man, you're missing the time that you're actually in it. You're missing the time that you're actually, dude, those years that when I was at the U, bro, I'll never get them, but those are some of the funnest years. I wish I would have cherished those moments a little bit more. You know, being in Coconut Grove, I'm going to South Beach, riding over 395 and Beeson's freaking red Benz. Like, I remember that, man. Like, and I talk about these stories. You know, I talk about these things, like, and a lot of people now say, dude, if social media was invented back when we were playing, the stuff y'all doing right now wouldn't be cool. They'd be like, bro, this was done like, this is, man, you know, and that's how I look at it. So anybody out there who's having issues, attitude issues, or just issues just with the game or just being coached, that's going to harm you in the long run. You're going to be just like me. You can be the best player in the world. You're going to have the best attitude in the world, and you're going to be done. And not because, like I said, I wasn't cut, or I've never been cut in my life. I walked away from the game. I actually went back and played with the Texans and retired again because I was like, it's too soft. I hit a guy one time. He asked me why I hit him so hard in the game. I said, bro, you have on the opposite decal, man. And that's when I knew. I said, man, one, these kids don't play the way we used to play. Two, this isn't the same league. And that's when I retired again. But like I said, man, I retired away from the game for a few different reasons. Like I said, I played the game out of pride instead of for fun. It's a fun game, man. And if you make it fun, if you don't play it for what you got to do, and you play it for whatever you get, like I said, man, the sky's the limit. That's what Frank did. Frank stayed there. He didn't get like, oh man, I got to hurry up and leave. Deshaun Golston, another story. Heard about Deshaun Golston. He played 5 years with the Niners before, you know, he actually got his shot. So it's always important, man. Put that pride aside, put that ego aside, listen to your coaches, coachable, likable, have a great attitude, and then the limit's the sky, man.
You obviously have a great perspective on a lot of things, and we are going to wrap this up, man. I've taken a lot of your time, but your stories are great. I feel like we could talk quite a bit longer, sharing the stories, but I appreciate you taking the time to share your stories, the guys you played with, the way you played the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, another thing, just talk about, Beeson and Monroe and Kyle, and, we all came in, man, and Tyrone Moss, we had big expectations. And that's why, that team, every year we went to a bowl game and we were all together, because those were the type of players that you want to bring into the University of Miami. Those, like, we were that last class, I felt like, that was a complete class. Like, they brought other people in different classes, but they didn't have a complete class. They just had maybe one or two pieces, but they didn't have the pieces that we needed to be great. But when we were brought in there to add to Sean Taylor's team, to Vince, it was the perfect pieces to the puzzle. And that's what we got to get to. And that's what I'll tell them. And that's why I have respect for my class, and I'll always love them. And I play, I used to have to block for Monroe. I used to have to make sure everybody stay off him, which I kept doing. Andy Lee was happy with me, man. I told him, dude, I've been doing this for a long time, Andy Lee. So, even my guy, Sam Cochran, he was over there in Baltimore. But like I said, those are some of the things that that kept us, is that we that we stayed tight-knit, that freshman class, throughout our whole time. So I'm looking forward to, I guess, long story short, I'm hoping that Coach Cristobal brings in his pieces to that team. Like, you don't have to get the same piece. Like, there might be pieces that's not broken, but maybe you need just this one little piece right here. Maybe it's just an offensive, maybe it's just a center. Maybe you might not need all the guards. Like, whatever it may be, is all I'm saying is I know he knows how to do it, and let's put it together how we did it. And whoever is that freshman class, whoever comes in there, whoever puts on that orange and green, man, just know that they're doing it for a way bigger reason than what they could ever imagine. And I hope that they know that all us guys who step foot on Green Tree, we're watching it, and man, we talk the most shit. So please start winning. and that's my only Christmas wish, is that Coach Cristobal gives us the big win so I can continue to run my mouth, man. Because you don't know how many people, when Michael Irvin says something, being a St. Thomas Aquinas guy and a Hurricane guy, that time when he says, we're going over there, we're going to rip out your throats and step on your necks. When he did that and we lost, man, I got a million freaking texts. But I love Mike's. I'm not mad. I loved it. I was pumped before the game. I said, dude, I would destroy somebody. And then we didn't win. So all I'm saying is, give us some of them wins back. That's all. Let's not give them no more wins. The ones that we're supposed to win, let's win. And let's start off with recruiting. And let's get everybody from Dade and Broward, Palm Beach. Let's bring this thing back together. And that's it, man. And all I got to say is, let's keep doing them 3 motherfucking things.
T Good, bringing a business. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Chris, brother.